Hi, welcome to another episode of Beyond Chronic Disease. My name's Wendy Gather-Cole. I'm your host. How are you this week? Last week, you would have heard what I created in my mind and body before I made a decision about my book, and once I made it, how my mind and body felt. It's super powerful. It it just changes the way things in life in general sit in our body and how our body reacts and what our body can take on, sickness and stress and all of that. So this week I'm talking about that more. It's what we normalize. Okay, we feel like being stressed is normal, being busy is normal, having high anxiety levels are normal, having the panic attacks is just normal because of what happens in our life. That's just what happens. Um, our the relationships that we have, if they're shit or good, that's just normal if they're crap, because of what has happened here, there, and everywhere. Everything that happens in our life, we normalize it. No, this is just what happens. This is just as it is. Now, I've spoken about it is what it is before. It used to really annoy the shit out of me, that saying, that until you look at it in a different perspective. Okay? It is what it is because of the way that okay? So when we normalize stress, because stress is the number one killer in the world, I believe. I don't really look at statistics that much. I just know that, talking to people and seeing them live out their lives, other people live out their lives, what stress does to people and, how they normalize it. Well, it's just like this because no, it's not. It's because you don't know how else to be. So I talk about this in my Spring Clean Your Mind and Body. Okay, so it's the normalizing of these negatively impacting feelings and emotions that create sickness in our mind and body. So let's normalize fun, calm, and ease instead of stress, overwhelm, anxiety. I've done a podcast on being busy before, and it really grates on me. Like when, people say, "Oh, I've just been so busy, I haven't had time to do that." Well, busy and time are two words that really grate on me. Let's talk about them in Spring Clean Your Mind and Body too, because it is such a different way to look at things when you open your mind to other possibilities. Okay, so I've got all the time in the world for what I really want to do. And I've got all the time in the world, even though I'm probably one of the busiest people that I know. Busy, busy, busy. What is busy? Is busy your reasoning for not doing what you really want? Is busy your reasoning or justification for uh, feeling that other people will think about you in a different way because you haven't seen them or, whatever that may be in your world? Do you feel that the time factor, that you don't have time for what you truly want because you're too busy doing all this other stuff? I don't really know how I got here. Okay, so we're going to talk about time and busy in Spring Clean Your Mind and Body um, in September, because these are words, these are speak. This is how we speak. And this is what we normalize in our lives. And we normalize stuff because we feel that this is what stops us from being. This is what stops us from doing. This is what stops us from living the life that we are meant to live. I do it like that because I sometimes get tired of that. This is what we're meant to be doing. But what we're meant to be doing is living our life from the little intuitive whispers that guide us in a way that's fun, calm, and ease, not stress, overwhelm, busy, anxious, panicky. So last week, you would have heard when I was in the throes of making that decision, how it affected my body. And then once I made that decision, then everything else started playing out, how this is better because of, and this is happening because of, so if we can start normalizing calm and ease over stress and anxiety, then not only you, but the whole world will become a better place energetically. And how do you do that? You have to open your mind to other possibilities. You have to bring everything back to you. I keep saying this. It's got to all come back to you. What does have to come back to you? Blame is no longer. It's all about responsibility. Everything that happens in your life is your responsibility. How can that be, Wendy? Well, I just had this traffic accident. That wasn't my fault. Wasn't it your fault? What were you thinking? What have you been, how has your life been going up until there, to that point? What have you been saying to others? What have you been thinking? What have you been saying to others? What have you been doing? Uh, you know, I don't believe there's any accidents in life. I believe that there's always some reason that things happen, always. And always, and if you open your mind to that possibility, then that brings the awareness into your everyday, especially when you can be still. And what I mean by being still is being present, not always looking at what's going to happen next, but being present in where you are right now. Like I am being present right now in doing this podcast, whereas there's so many other things outside of this that are going on for me. But at the moment, I'm being present in this podcast. So I can say that, with and well, actually on this trip, I'm actually overseas at the moment. So I was away prior to being on this trip. I was actually away on another little mini break. And I received a couple of emails about this trip that we're on at the moment because, we're overseas. We're going to Dubai and with everything that happened. And I really needed to action them. But, ordinarily, it would be one of those moments where it's like, oh no, I need to do this. I've got to do this before I go away, or I've got to do this while I'm away. It's got to happen really quickly. But I chose to wait till I got home. I know that everything will always work out for me because that is my mantra. That is what I say all the time. Everything always works out for me. Everything always works out the way it's supposed to for everybody. And so I dismissed it. And the person that I was with said, "Oh, maybe you can do that tonight," or whatever was said. I went, "No, I'm on this holiday, I'm on this break, and this is where I'm at." So if you get to the ability, or if you can gain that awareness and get to that moment in your life, well, you've won. What have you won? You've won the game of life. This is what it's all about. Being able to, you get that moment which ordinarily would create all this stress, because this is normal. When we get a bad email or we get something that's changed up in our life, um, we can't cope with it. Well, we can't cope with it. It just adds to all our stress, because this is normal, because this is what happens in life. So when you have that, and then you have the ability to get all of that and go, oh well, I'll do that, and then it'll work out, or whatever. Then that's winning the game of life. And I had a situation, actually, I'm recording this, so before it played out, but I'll let you know. So I had a situation with an update on something that I had to travel with. And I'm like, oh, I'll just do it. So I got told not to, but I'll just do it. Everything will work out. I will let you know next time, when it all works out for me, how it all worked out for me. So stop normalizing all the shit that feels shit in your body, okay? Because it's not normal. It's not supposed to be normal. Yes, it happens, but it's not supposed to be normal. If you want to know how to not normalize it anymore, come to my Spring Clean Your Mind and Body in September. I will show you how not to normalize stress, anxiety, overwhelm, busyness, and make it your excuse and reasoning and justification in your world why things aren't working out for you, and denormalize that and normalize fun, calm, and ease in your life. So until next week, and I will talk to you about my experience of how things all worked out for me in my trip, in an episode sometime in August. So look out for that. It will be, I don't know, something about France, maybe. All right, until next week, I'll see you then. Bye.